I mean, a well mind creates a well body, right?
Amen.
And so I want to go back to the mood disorder because we have so many people, especially living in the United States, who are clinically depressed, who are on antidepressants, who are on some sort of medication to help regulate the mind. And so I want you to really talk about this mind body connection and how our mood is being altered by the foods we eat, the deficiencies that we have, the lack of serotonin, how we need to, all these different things, what's playing into it.
Interestingly, there was an emerging theory in depression called the serotonin hypothesis of depression. It's well documented. And essentially, the serotonin hypothesis of depression says if you are low on the neurotransmitter serotonin, you are by definition depressed. So if we just take that definition for a moment and say, okay, if I'm low on serotonin, I'm by definition depressed, then the solution should be to raise serotonin, right? But that's not what we do. Very often we put people that are low on serotonin onto something called SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So what these do is they essentially they block the uptake of serotonin. And so in essence, what they're doing is rationing what little serotonin you have. So by definition, it doesn't raise serotonin. So by definition, it doesn't end depression. I've had clients come in through our clinic system all the time, and I'll say, well, how long have you been on antidepressants? They'll say 15 years, 18 years. I go, well, when did you think it was going to kick in? Right? Like when do we think that this antidepressant was going to be?
Yeah, after 15 years.
After 15 years. And so then we ask ourselves, okay, where's serotonin made in the body? It's made in the gut. How do we make serotonin? We take an amino acid called tryptophan, the one that's famous for making you sleepy at Thanksgiving dinner, and we methylate it into the neurotransmitter serotonin. So there's no serotonin pills that you take. You actually make serotonin, 90% of which is in your gut. We make serotonin, then it travels up something called the vagus nerve and goes into the brain and creates your mood. So is it possible that you're deficient in the amino acid tryptophan, one of the essential amino acids? Absolutely. Is it possible that you are missing the complex of B vitamins and something called methylcobalamin, a form of B12 that helps you methylate these neurotransmitters? Could it be, and I'm not saying this is all causes of depression, but sometimes people will look around at their life and they will go, okay, I'm married to somebody that I'm deeply in love with. I got, 2 great kids. I've got a decent job. I'm not particularly under any financial strain. There's no strife in my life. I'm not dealing with any major trauma. Why can I just not get out of first gear? Why is it that I go on a vacation with the people I love the most to a place I've always wanted to go and I just can't feel my environment?
Yeah.
And there's so many people that just accept this as a consequence of aging, and it's not. It's a consequence of missing raw material. And the reason for a lot of these is because this deficiency causes a deficiency in serotonin. So imagine now that you have a deficiency in a neurotransmitter, and mood is a recipe. It requires certain neurotransmitters, but you don't have one of them. Now you go to assemble a mood, but you're missing an ingredient. Now you have a mood disorder. You have a mental illness. So many people that probably listening to this podcast right now are suffering from anxiety, or they know somebody that is suffering from anxiety. It's rampant. And no one's ever actually told them what anxiety is, right? If you ask 10 people, including most therapists, what is anxiety? They're going to tell you it's the sensation of a fear without the presence of a fear. It's this feeling of being anxious.
Yeah.
It's like rapid heart rate. But what is it? What's causing that? So very specifically, anxiety is linked to a rise in a category of neurotransmitters. Okay, they're called catecholamines. There's 4 of them. So when these 4 neurotransmitters rise, we begin to experience a fight or flight symptoms. So if you walked out of this studio and went outside to walk to your car and somebody was standing in front of you with a knife, okay, very real threat. Your pupils would dilate, your heart rate would increase, your extremities would flood with blood. You would start having a fight or flight response. Okay, what caused that? Because that person hasn't touched you. Just the presence of that fear caused a spike in these catecholamines and caused all these this cascade of events in your body. But what if you were, I stayed at the Waldorf across the street last night. Great spot, by the way. And what if I was laying in bed in the Waldorf last night and I just started thinking about getting eaten by a shark? Now, I could rationalize to myself the chances of a shark getting out of the Atlantic Ocean
and coming to Atlanta. Coming to Atlanta.
Yeah, you don't have any shark bites in Atlanta. Right? I checked the news. And biting me in my bed in the Waldorf are zero, but I could have the exact same response. I could literally throw myself into fight or flight. The reason why it's important to look at those scenarios is because how could I have the same reaction to the presence of a real fear as to an entirely imagined fear? The reason for that is because chemically, neurophysiologically, they're the same thing. So now we're starting to narrow things down a little bit and say, okay, well then if these neurotransmitters rise, I start to feel anxiety, which is why most people that have anxiety will tell you three things. They will tell you, I've had it on and off throughout my entire lifetime.
My entire life, yeah.
Number two, I cannot always point to the specific trigger that causes it. They could be on a podcast like we are right now and just all of a sudden be overwhelmed with anxiety. They could be driving home from work on an otherwise innocuous day and be overwhelmed with anxiety. So we try to connect how we feel to our outside environment. And very often, it's not something that's happening to us. It's something that's happening within us. And the third thing they'll tell you is that they've tried anti-anxiety medications and they either didn't work or they made them feel like a zombie.
Yeah.
Right? So their two choices were feel anxious or that feeling of impending doom and anxiety and rapid heart rate or what have you, or be a zombie. Those are their choices. So if we take that a step further and we go, okay, well, how do I break down these catecholamines? How do I actually break these neurotransmitters down that cause these feelings? Because when they're at baseline, you feel fine. As they rise, you begin to feel anxious. As they continue to rise, you feel anxiety. If they rise any further, you begin to have physical symptoms like a panic attack, rapid heart rate, dilated pupils, sweaty palms. If it rises even further, you'll become paranoid. You'll have paranoias. So how do I keep these from rising? We take the complex of nutrients that helps our bodies break down these neurotransmitters. Believe it or not, the complex of B vitamins, methylcobalamin, methylfolate, very readily available supplements. By the way, I don't sell any of these. I'm not here to sell anybody supplements. There are plenty of great brands.
But you've given out the ones that you said work really well.
Oh, yeah. I shout out Thorne, Pure Encapsulations, Symbiotica, a lot of great brands out there, Life Extension. And I have no affiliation with any of those brands. I just think that they're doing the right thing in their formulations for their users. And it may be, I'm not saying all the time, but it may be as simple as you have these deficiencies that are causing the expression of these conditions. I got very popularized for working with Dana White, and I want to be cautious by saying, I'm not a physician. I'm not licensed to practice medicine. But Dana was suffering from rampant hypertension, uncontrolled hypertension. He was on multiple hypertensive medications. So the clinical team, physicians, and myself, we looked at his record. What was interesting was most of his cardiac exams were normal, but he still had this crazy hypertension, even on medication. And then we looked at his genetics and found a gene mutation that did not allow him to break down an amino acid in his blood that every listener to this podcast right now has in their blood. It's called homocysteine. And I'm not saying this is always the root of hypertension, but when you see hypertension traveling in families, oh, my uncle had it, my mother had it, my aunt had it, my father had it, you have to be cautious that your doctor says you have genetically inherited or familial hypertension, because if I can get you to believe that, I can get you to subscribe to a lifetime of medication. And so what runs in a lot of these families is this elevated amino acid called homocysteine, which you can easily check on a blood test. And when homocysteine is sort of cruising around the inside lining of your arteries, okay, it irritates your artery. And if you irritate an artery, it will clamp down. And if you make the pipes smaller in a fixed system, this is a closed system, pressure goes up.
Yeah.
Now you got told that you have high blood pressure, but they can't find out why. So they told you it's because your family history. So now you accept that you have a disease that was passed to you from a previous generation. So now you start the medication. When the reality is, what if I'm just deficient in the minerals and the vitamins and the nutrients that break down homocysteine? What if I tried taking something like trimethylglycine, an over-the-counter amino acid? And as that homocysteine fell, my vascular system began to relax. And as the pipes relaxed, the pressure comes down.
Yeah.
Because very often we label these diseases or pathologies instead of labeling them for the nutrient deficiency that's leading to them.
I think that's going to free so many people, though. Like, that really has the power to free people.
Hey, Vault family, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this clip, make sure to check out our full interview on our channel at Vault Empowers Talks. We don't just scratch the surface. We dive deep into the lives of some of the world's most influential leaders and change makers. Don't forget to like, to comment, and be sure to subscribe for more inspiring conversations. See you next time.